The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is the fifth film in the Hunger Games franchise. So today, let's rank them all from worst to best. Hey everybody, my name's Justin here. I try to watch everything that hits theaters and on streaming services. If you guys are like me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and click that bell notification for more up and coming content. Leave your list down below. How would you rank all 5 of the Hunger Game films from worst to best? Coming in last place is The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. This film suffers from being that Part 1 film where there has to be a lot of setup. A lot of this film really drags. It's slow at times where they have to film these messages to President Snow and to all the people that want to rebel against the Capitol. So there's times where this film feels a little bit repetitive and the pacing really drags because it is that film that is setting up the big finale in Mockingjay Part 2. There is some pretty good development for Katniss and a lot more of Gale in here, and you like Finnick a second time around. There's less of Peeta in here as he's being controlled by the Capitol, but this film has some decent moments, more exploring the Capitol, introductions of Julianne Moore, President Coin, a lot more of Philip Seymour Hoffman as well. So there are some good characters and nice development for them along the way, but the pacing is really slow at times. Not a lot of exciting scenes throughout, and really just suffers from being that Part 1 as it has to build up for that big finale between Katniss and President Snow in the Capitol, what we got in Mockingjay Part 2. So it's a good film, but easily the slowest of them all. Coming in fourth place is Mockingjay Part 2. I like this finale as it kind of feels a little bit slow in the beginning, as we have our characters slowly gearing towards the fight against the Capitol. You still have to have these moments where they see Katniss as the face of this rebellion, and so she has to fulfill her duties of being that face and the Mockingjay and filming these scenes to send to President Snow. What I think was missing in Part 1 and this film as well is I wanted to see people's reactions more to these propaganda videos that they were filming. I wanted to see President Snow reacting to a lot of it, people in different districts responding to her videos as they've spent a lot of time filming these scenes and having these speeches. I wanted to see that kind of play out and how it affected people within different districts. It's got a really solid conclusion to it all, some twists and turns along the way, more action, more development for a lot of the characters that we've gotten in the Hunger Games franchise, like Finnick and Gale and Peeta and Katniss. It's a very solid conclusion to the franchise. Just moves better than Mockingjay Part 1. A lot more action and got some twists along the way that makes it pretty entertaining. Coming in third place is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the most recent Hunger Games film that takes a look at President Snow when he was 18 years old and being a mentor to Lucy Gray within this film, played by Rachel Zegler. So you see a very early stages of the Hunger Games. This is the 10th annual Hunger Games in here. So things felt very different, just those early stages of sending the sponsorships and helping out, and the mentors helping out as well. It's just these teenagers in this stadium killing each other, and it doesn't have those moments where the arena is being shifted and things are being thrown into the arena. I like the more simple look at the Hunger Games, and the performances are really good from Tom Blythe as a young President Snow. Rachel Zegler is amazing in here as well. I could do with a little less of the singing, but I understand that's who Rachel Zegler's character was, is that she sang a lot, and it really helped with a lot of the people within this movie. But I think it was just kind of fine one time, but you didn't need to have a bunch of songs throughout. I like the slow transition of Snow becoming the character that we know in the current Hunger Games movies, where in the beginning he was very welcoming, he wanted to help out Lucy Gray, but then you start to see this gradual transition to him becoming more aggressive and killing people, and that is like the Snow that we recognize in the Hunger Games movies. So we see that transition that really starts to work in Tom Blythe, starting to match the intensity of the younger version of President Snow. The direction is very nice. We have a lot of wide scopes when it comes to the action scenes. You just feel the intensity and urgency of it all. Good film. It's long. I think some of the pacing is a little bit off and moves a little bit slow, but overall it's a nice way to look at the early stages of the Hunger Games, building the lore within this movie and the franchise, and really just expanding on it. Coming in second place is The Hunger Games. The first Hunger Games movie, I remember how popular this was. That young adult adaptation was huge in the early 2010s, and The Hunger Games really took advantage of all of that. The world building within the capital and the different districts is perfect within this movie. As we see some of the traditions, the way they go about the Hunger Games, it's developed nicely throughout this film. Jennifer Lawrence is really good as Katniss Everdeen. I like Josh Hutcherson as Peeta. The whole cast is solid within this movie. I do wish there was more preparing for the fight. Seeing the tributes within here, preparing, fighting, practicing for everything, it seemed like they spent a lot of time on interviews and getting these sponsorships and getting your hair done and your makeup done and getting these costumes, which is all about the Capitol and how they perceive the Hunger Games. But I wanted to see more of preparing for it all, because when you get to the actual Hunger Games itself, it's really action-packed. It really takes its time to showcase the Hunger Games and people trying to kill each other, protect themselves, form these alliances. I just wish the Hunger Games honestly was just a little bit longer. It's already a pretty long film. I think it really could have benefited from maybe like 10 more minutes to really just showcase the preparation and training for all this, instead of just being thrown into the games. It really could have built some more urgency in the early half of this movie. But I do think that this film is nicely directed. The only different director in the Hunger Games franchise is in the first film. It's very bleak in the beginning when you look at the District 12, really setting the tone early on for this film, and then really just going all in with the Capitol. But coming in first place is Catching Fire, and I actually did a poll on my channel, and 67% agreed that this was the best Hunger Games film. It introduces us to fan favorite characters like Finnick and Joanna within this movie. It just builds off of that first film, while also trying not to do the same exact thing where you would have different tributes in the Hunger Games. Now they're bringing in past winners. It just adds to the emotional state of Katniss and Peeta in here, and how President Snow is trying to manipulate everybody that's involved in this rebellion. And when we get to the games, it's action packed. It's less of like trying to kill each other and more surviving, as there's different territories and different obstacles being thrown at them. So it's really them trying to protect themselves and form these alliances, rather than, hey, I'm picking you off and I'm going to kill you next. Different obstacles being thrown into the movie that really start to test them. It continues to build off of the first film with the lore of the Capitol, exploring all of that. There's more emotional weight to this movie. The fan favorite characters I really do like. It's action packed, but Catching Fire easily to me is the best one. I remember seeing it in theaters and going, okay, this was much better than the first film. And I like that first film, but it just expands so much on that movie, introducing new characters and a lot of fun action scenes towards the end. So there you guys have it, all 5 Hunger Games movies ranked worst to best. How would you rank them? Let me know in the comment section down below, and stay tuned for more up and coming content like this. My name is Just Watches Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.